Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 23rd February 2021. So let us see which are the important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper relevant to our examination. So for mains purpose and for prelims purpose, the relevant articles have been classified in this manner. So let us take a review of these articles first, to which part of our syllabus they relate to and what is the context of these articles. So first here on page number 6 and 7, editorial page and op-ed page for mains related articles, dealing with the bigger neighbor China. So the context here is the last year the India-China standoff that happened and the border dispute between India and China, and the article is providing the template that China and Russia, how they solved the border dispute and how the relations between China and Russia improved thereon. Okay, so some of the important factual information, that is what are the peace agreements that have been passed between India and China since 1990s. Okay, so we will take input for that purpose. Then new paradigm in animal husbandry. So the article is providing the last year in June 2020 there was one scheme announced here, Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund. Okay, so what is this particular fund and the nitty-gritties of it and the significance of that fund? It is discussed in this article on the op-ed page. From GS3 part, agroeconomy, animal husbandry as an allied sector of farming or in agriculture is very important input. Okay, so GS3 paper, agroeconomy part. Then for specifically prelims related, Chinese President Xi Jinping may visit India for BRICS summit. So there is possibility that BRICS summit may happen in the, let's say, physical environment and not like last year virtual summit, and it is to be hosted by India. So that's why Chinese president may visit. So what is BRICS grouping? Again, for international organizations or groupings, from prelims perspective we will look into details of BRICS grouping. Then growth momentum needs to be strengthened. Here the statement is of RBI governor, who is also ex officio chairperson of monetary policy committee. Okay, so recently the meeting of this monetary policy committee was happened, and yes, what do you mean by this what monetary policy committee and how it is constituted, and then what are its how many are the members and what is the function. So for prelims perspective, that is again the important part here from economy. India in trade defense pacts with Mauritius. So yes, in earlier lecture we talked about how our external minister was visiting the Maldives country. Now he is visiting Mauritius country, and there are some, let's say, agreements that have been signed between India and Mauritius in that ongoing visit to Mauritius. So yes, which are these agreements here as a follow-up for international relations, and what are these all islands in Indian Ocean region, their location from geography mapping part. No longer in the shadows. So again, yes, 15 days, 10 to 15 days back there was article regarding shadow puppetry from Kerala, one of the particular art form. So what is this particular shadow puppetry dance form from Kerala, details about that, and different types of puppetry art form in India. So here again from art and culture part, prelims examination will look into that. Okay, so let us go in detail of all these articles. So from first article, what is the input that we need to take from this article? Yes, the sequential agreements and protocols regarding the solving of this border dispute between India and China and ensuring free peace and tranquility along the LAC or the border area. So what are these arguments? They start with 1993 agreement here. See, 1993, 1996, then 2005, 2012, 2013. In sequential manner you need to know them now. What is this first one? The agreement on maintenance of peace and tranquility along the line of actual control in India-China border areas. Okay, this is the first, we can say that agreement on maintenance of peace and tranquility. Then second is agreement on CBMs, confidence building measures in military field along the line of actual control in India-China border areas immediately after 3 years. So these are the significant developments. And then there was protocol on modalities for implementation of confidence building measures in military field. So this was the agreement and that led to this protocol, right? And protocol is something where nitty-gritties, the rules and all these measures are agreed by these two countries to be implemented. Okay, these are the broad guidelines, these are the nitty-gritties we can understand protocol. Now these two countries are bound to implement those measures here. So this is the 2005 protocol. Then in 2012 there was agreement on establishment of working mechanism for consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs. Okay, so working mechanism for consultation and coordination. And lastly, after a year after that, the agreement on border defense cooperation. Now this is specific border defense cooperation it is talking about. And here establishment of working mechanism for consultation and coordination on border affairs. Okay, so this is the evolution of all these agreements, especially to maintain the peace and tranquility and ensuring cooperation among these two countries, the armed forces of two countries in that border areas. Okay, so to solve this border dispute, there is evolution from 1993 to 2013, and after this 2013 we can understand the 2017 Doklam standoff happened. Doklam Plateau is the region at tri-junction of India and China and we can say Bhutan, right? So Doklam standoff that happened, and now in 2020 we have the standoff along various let's say points in Ladakh region along LAC. Okay, so these things happened, and there was criticism on all these measures which were taken have not been successful, and therefore both countries need to agree on all the measures that have been taken here under these protocols and agreements and take them further. Okay, so for our mains examination IR section in GS2 paper, International Relations, some of the factual information you need to know about all these agreements and protocols. Okay, whenever the question is related to the standoff, recent standoff along LAC or the confidence building measures, all these things when we talk about India and China relations. Okay, so yes, this is the thing that you need to take input for our examination. Now on page number 7, op-ed page, there is article New Paradigm in Animal Husbandry. So it is talking about the Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund. Now this Infrastructure Development Fund was launched in June 2020 with an outlay of 15,000 crore rupees. So you have to understand that this is the part of agroeconomy syllabus of GS3 paper. Okay, mains examination. And animal husbandry, there has been not many questions asked up till now since 2013 when the syllabus was changed for GS paper in mains examination. So we can surely expect such kind of question, because this is the major development that happened. Animal husbandry as an allied activities for farming or for the farmers, this is very important source of income to the farmers. Okay, so what is this particular fund? The nitty-gritties here. This is the infrastructure investment in dairy, meat processing and animal feed plants. Specifically the infrastructure development. So for dairy sector we can understand that there will be mass coolers to be installed. For cold storage infrastructure, we can say improving the animal feed varieties for that purpose, so that ultimately what will happen is there will be more and more quality dairy products from the cattle. We can say the productivity can be increased. The meat processing in general, we can say that the food processing industries. These are the inputs for food processing industries. So this is also part of your syllabus in GS3 paper. So infrastructure investment, this is very important aspect. At the same time, there are the syllabus topics like downward linkages, upward linkages in the supply chains or supply chain management. So this is we have to understand is the downward linkages for the farmers and at the same time the upward linkages for the industries or food processing industries. Okay, this is the upward linkages. How to understand the upward and downward linkages? Let me explain that to you. Okay, so these are the food processing industries and for farmers. The syllabus point that we need to understand. Here the upward linkages and downward linkages. So what are these upward and downward linkages? Upward means raw material to food processing industries, first one. So for example, for dairy industry there will be milk as a raw material which will be supplied to this food processing industry. If we are talking about other such agro based industries, meat industry or even other such industries, for that raw material will be supplied. Then we can again have here the transportation, right? If it is requiring the cold storage, then cold storage transportation is required for that purpose. Then again for input purpose, we can say that in the upward linkages what is required is the good roads quality. Okay, connectivity, we can say that connectivity to the raw material, or we can say that this material supplying regions. This is the upward linkages. What are the downward linkages? We can say that here first and foremost is marketing, advertisement, retail outlets, right, and variety of products. These are the downward linkages for food processing industries. What are the upward linkages for the farmers? We can say that here upward linkages, and then the downward linkages we can talk about here for the farmers. The upward linkages for the farmers, first here like the inputs like seed quality or the quality seeds here, fertilizers, pesticides, machinery, agriculture machinery, water for irrigation, power supply. All these are upward linkages to the farmers. And what are the downward linkages now? The post harvest storage, transport of food grains, right? Here in upward you can also add credit supply. Okay, credit supply by banks or loans, we can say government support, post harvest storage, transport of grains, the transport mechanism, connectivity to the market, right? So all these are downward linkages for the farmers. So this is very important. There has been already question regarding the upward and downward linkages and supply chain management for FPIs. Okay, now whenever there is any company which involves in both, let's say upward and downward linkages, then we can say that that is vertical integration by the company. For example, Amul in dairy industry. So Amul has its own food processing industry as well as the milk collective cooperatives that are being formed for raw material supply. So there is, and there are outlets also, retail outlets, marketing, advertisement done by the Amul itself. So this is called as vertical integration by that company. Okay, so this was about the basics of this. So in this manner, this is important. Now, yes, nitty-gritties are there, like 90% of the project which is proposed here, the loan will be given. It covers up to 90%. At the same time, interest subvention of 3% to all eligible entities for such kind of projects in animal husbandry. Okay, now significance of this particular fund. Very important, because there can be questions specifically about significance also. Yes, so setting up of bulk milk coolers to prevent wastage of milk. Okay, so bulk milk coolers, especially we are talking about the cold storage infrastructure here. Okay, so this can be the funding through this particular fund. Then there can be increased productivity of cattle by enhancing quality of animal feed. Just now we were talking about that. Then economic as well as nutritional benefits by boosting the poultry sector, meat and eggs. We can say that some of the facts which are given here: India is the 4th largest chicken meat producer and 2nd largest eggs producer in the world. Okay, so here, as we have experienced in recent times, that eggs are also being included as the diet in, or we can say part of midday meal scheme to the children. So this is also ensuring the social justice outcomes too. Okay, so yes, surely we can boost poultry sector for that purpose. Then also improving the infrastructure means ultimately we are increasing the efficiency part and ultimately reducing the carbon footprints. So mitigate the carbon footprints is also its outcome. And lastly, we can say that it has potential to create 30 lakhs jobs. At present, dairy sector and animal husbandry sector employs more than 100 million people. Okay, and further it can, the particular fund can create more than 30 lakh jobs in this sector, especially in rural areas. Okay, so this is the significance. Whenever the question is talking about the role of infrastructure in fund, that particular fund in animal husbandry sector, you should talk about this significance part. Even if it is not relating directly, then indirectly you should mention about this fund. Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund, recently launched, especially this was launched after this COVID pandemic and lockdown period. Okay, for let's say supporting the income of farmers in rural areas. Okay, yes, now GS3 paper agroeconomy. Next, for prelims purpose, the specific topics: Chinese President Xi Jinping, now he may visit India in the second half of this year 2021 to attend BRICS summit. Okay, so leaders meeting, this particular leaders meeting is expected. If the physical summit happens, he may attend that, okay, by visiting India. So yes, there was a statement by Foreign Ministry of China that we will work with India, other members to strengthen communication and dialogue and consolidate 3 pillars cooperation. Now you need to mention them, 3 pillar cooperation. What are these 3 pillar cooperation in BRICS grouping? First, economic cooperation. Second, political and security cooperation. And third, people to people and cultural exchanges. Use these words in your answers. Okay. So yes, now what is this BRICS grouping? As the name suggests, Brazil, India, China, Russia and then South Africa. Later on it joined in the BRICS grouping. Earlier it was BRIC grouping, and in 2010 South Africa was invited to join this grouping, and then together now it is called as BRICS grouping. Okay, so basically this BRICS grouping leaders, they meet every year in the leaders meeting that is conducted every year, and the head of that meeting, or we can say chairmanship of the forum, is rotated annually among the members with the acronym of BRIC. Okay, so sequential manner. First Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, again Brazil. In this manner, this is continuing as a chairmanship of group. Okay, the first summit took place in 2009 in Russian Federation, and later on in 2010 South Africa was invited to join. Now together it is called as BRICS summit. Now it is convened annually, annual summit hota hai, and then in 2014 the Fortaleza declaration, there has been question in prelims examination, which of the following is, or we can say about the Fortaleza declaration. So it is related to BRICS summit. Okay, so there was a question in prelims examination, and which are the important developments happened in that Fortaleza declaration. Fortaleza declaration in 2014. First, the BRICS contingent reserve arrangement, CRA. This is to provide short term liquidity support to its members, and currency swap agreements mitigating balance of payment crisis situation. And the another outcome of this is NDB, New Development Bank, that was established during this 6th BRICS summit, Fortaleza 2014, and its headquarter is in Shanghai, China. Okay, so this is very important, let's say, grouping from India, China, and all the let's say developing countries, all important 4 developing countries, and then one of the important country of Russia, right? So this is also called as North-South cooperation. It is also called as North-South cooperation, or we can say that this is important grouping for India, especially related to cooperation with China in this economic cooperation, we can say that. Okay, so BRICS summit, when this BRICS summit will happen in future, we can again talk about the outcome of that, but for prelims examination this is the basic information. Okay, moving on, growth momentum needs to be strengthened. So here in minutes of Monetary Policy Committee, the meeting that happened, so here RBI kept the policy rates unchanged. These policy rates are the monetary policy rates. We can say that the monetary policy is changed or decided by RBI through this MPC. What are these rates? Like repo rates, reverse repo rate, and then liquidity adjustment facility, margin, all those let's say rates are there. So yes, MSF is there, marginal standing facility, liquidity adjustment facility. So these are the parts. Then repo rate, repurchase obligation, and then we can say reverse repo rate, right? So these are the tools of monetary policy. These are called as tools of monetary policy, and they are decided by now the 6-member Monetary Policy Committee, and from time to time this Monetary Policy Committee meets and reviews these policy rates. Now the MPC has also decided to continue the accommodative stance as long as necessary. Okay, so yes, policy rates, especially repo rate, has been kept at 4% constant. Now what is this Monetary Policy Committee? For that purpose, the basic information that you need to know about this. This was constituted by amending this RBI Act 1934. Okay, and then it is tasked with framing monetary policy. You need to know about that. It is tasked with monetary policy. Earlier, before this Monetary Policy Committee, RBI solely in cooperation with government or finance ministry used to decide on Monetary Policy Committee. Now this particular 6-member committee also has representation of government. Okay, so this is we can say the good economics in terms of having cooperation with the government and the regulating body or central bank, we can say that. Yes, it consists of 6 members. The government nominates 3 members. No government official is nominated to the body. Okay, so basically here the nominated members are basically experts by the government. Now the other 3 members would be from RBI, with governor himself being ex officio chairperson. Now members are elected for 4 years time period or term, and they are not eligible for reappointment. they are not eligible for reappointment, and decisions are taken by majority. However, chairman, that is chairperson, that is governor, is not having any veto powers here. However, he can vote as a casting vote if there is let's say sorry, if there is any kind of tie among the members. Okay, but decisions are taken by majority, we will say. So yes, 6 members and 1 chairperson. The government nominees to MPC will be selected by search cum selection committee under cabinet secretary. Okay, search cum selection committee under cabinet secretary. This is the information for prelims examination you need to know about monetary policy committee. Okay, then moving on. Yes, practice prelims MCQ. So you can attempt these questions, you can expect such kind of question in your examination. Yes, consider the following statement about monetary policy committee. Now some of the factual information you need to know about such bodies. Now what are the bodies we can talk about here, like constitutional bodies. In polity terms we are talking about constitutional bodies, statutory bodies, executively created bodies, and yes, some of the regulatory bodies also we can say that here, like this MPC also. It consists of 6 members. Yes, this is correct statement. RBI governor is ex officio chairperson of MPC. The term of members is for 3 years. Is it 3 years or 4 years? Yes, this is 4 years, the term. And members are not eligible for reappointment. Is it true? Not eligible or eligible? Yes, they are not eligible. This is correct statement. Okay, so that's why 1, 2 and 4. So answer should be this C. Okay, in this manner some of the factual information is required to be, let's say, remembered for our examination regarding such bodies. Next, India in trade defense pacts with Mauritius. Now our external affairs minister S. Jaishankar is visiting some of the island countries in Indian Ocean. Recently he visited Maldives. Now he is visiting on the visit to Mauritius country, and 2 important agreements have been signed. Which are these 2 important agreements? $100 million defense line of credit agreement. It is specifically defense line of credit agreement. Okay, and then the comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement, CESPA, comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement. Now what is the significance of this CESPA, such particular agreement? The significance is that there will be priority treatment given to each other by these 2 countries in terms of bilateral trade or international trade, we can say. So yes, they will provide preferential access to the number of atoms, and then it will help in the post pandemic recovery. At the same time, it will enable business expansion, greater investments in each other's countries. Now Mauritius is one such island nation in the Indian Ocean. Which are these island nations or islands of Indian Ocean? So from geography mapping part, there can be question like which among the following island we can say is located in the northern hemisphere, which among them is located in the southern hemisphere. Now this is the equator. You can see Maldives and the Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar Islands of India, and then the Maldives on the northern hemisphere, and Chagos, Seychelles, and then we have Comoros here, then Reunion Islands, and then Mauritius, and here the Cocos Island. All these islands are in the southern hemisphere. Okay, so you need to remember the locations. From north to south also you need to remember locations. Then we have Lakshadweep Islands of India, then Maldives, then Chagos Archipelago in the sequence from state north to south. And then we can say below that there is Mauritius Island from north to south, and then Reunion Islands from north to south. Or there can be like Cocos Island and then Mauritius, then Reunion. Sequence से याद रखना है इसको. Okay, So always do such kind of mapping when you do let's say study this atlas. Keep atlas every day for half an hour now before prelims examination, and do such kind of mapping part in that atlas. Okay, yes, even in our lectures from time to time, when particular article relates to that, we will try to do mapping part. And lastly, no longer in the shadows. On page number 12, showcase page, sometimes art and culture related articles relevant to our examination appears. Yes, 2 weeks back also there was one particular article related to this Tolpawa Kuttu, the same kind of study we have done here, the Tolpawa Kuttu puppetry art, shadow puppetry art from Kerala it is talking about. Okay, so this will be repetition for many of you, but yes, this is important for our examination. The Hindu newspaper is the most important newspaper. There will be direct question in our prelims examination. Tolpawa Kuttu is particular puppetry, shadow puppetry art form from Kerala, especially popular in Palakkad, Thrissur and Malappuram districts of Kerala. Now this is a particular dedicated to Bhadrakali, Bhadrakali Devi temples in Kerala, especially this Palakkad district, and we have to know that or understand that the particular puppetry that show it largely has relevance to explanation of or the showing of that Ramayana epic. Okay, so we need to know that the puppets can be as tall as 4 feet and the 2 sticks are used to control these puppets. And this are earlier they were made up of deer skin, but now they are largely made up of goat skin. Okay, so this is the form of shadow puppetry. Now what are different types of puppetry forms in India? 4 major types, and yes, we have added some photos also to make it more let's say understanding. You can see here. So first is this Kathputli dance form, we can say the string puppetry. Then the second one is this one Tolpawa Kuttu itself, shadow puppetry from Kerala. And here third one is rod puppetry. Third one is rod puppetry, and last one it is glow puppetry. Again, this is very famous in Kerala, glow puppetry. Okay, so yes, you need to know that, yes, glow puppetry, Pawa Kuttu of Kerala. Now, different kind of these puppetry, let's say art forms are there in different, they are differently called in different states. For example, Kathputli in Rajasthan, Kunde in Odisha, Gombayatta of Karnataka, or Bamalattam art form of Tamil Nadu. These are the string puppetries. Generally what we understand is Kathputli. String puppetry means Kathputli. Sometimes it is also shown in some of the Bollywood music or those songs also, Kathputli dance and all. Paheli movie very famous, Kathputli from Rajasthan. Yes, then shadow puppets like for example the Togalu Gombayattu of Karnataka. You can see here Gombayattu of Karnataka, string puppetry. Togalu Gombayattu is shadow puppetry. Tholu Bommalatha of Andhra Pradesh, Ramana Chaya of Odisha. This is shadow, okay, shadow puppetry. Chaya means shadow actually, so you can relate to that. Then rod puppets include Putul Nach of West Bengal and Yampuri of Bihar. So you can see West Bengal and Bihar, there is rod puppetry famous in that region. And glow puppetry, the very famous Pawa Kuttu of Kerala. Sometimes it is in news in the New Hindu newspaper, this photo, yes. This is glow puppetry, Pawa Kuttu. Okay, so yes, these are the important art forms. It can be also asked in GS1 paper mains examination art and culture part. What are the different puppetry dance forms or puppetry art forms in India in different regions? Okay, yes, so this is the particular issues and articles for our examination. Try to take input, make notes out of this. अगर आपको ये वीडियो पसंद आया है तो इसको लाइक कीजिए, कमेंट कीजिए और शेयर कीजिए अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ में, और साथ साथ हमारे चैनल को भी सब्सक्राइब कीजिए. फॉर फर्दर इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन एडिटोरियल डिस्कशन क्लासेस और ईडी क्लासेस wherein in-depth analysis of mains related issues and articles is done by Ansari sir and team, and a perspective building is done on those issues and articles, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.